Hello, I'm Julie from the Spellbound Bee Company, and today I'm going to show you how to make a torque necklace. That's a torque necklace with a difference. Normally a torque necklace is made of a solid band of wire that goes all the way around the neck. These can be very comfortable, but equally they can be very impractical. The problem is when you turn your head, the bones in your neck move and the shape of your neck changes, and the torque doesn't accommodate that. So it will flip up or it will turn, and especially if you put a bag on your shoulder, it pulls it out of shape. Now this is our solution to that problem. This is a torque style necklace, so the wire goes all the way around, but it's articulated at the front here, and this is where your collarbones are. So this is when you turn your head, these collarbones stick out slightly, and that's where the torque can pull out of shape. And it's also got a fastener with some extra articulation on the back, so that every time you move, all of the torque moves with you. This is a very simple one. I've put a little bit of a curlicue either side on the joins. You can just do plain loops there if you prefer. And I've put a single loop in the middle to take a simple pendant. You can leave this absolutely plain and thread beads on if you prefer, or you can add multiple loops for all sorts of different angles. But today I'm going to concentrate on doing a torque of this design. To make the torque, I'm going to need some 1.2mm half hard wire. Now half hard wire has a little bit of spring in it, so when I pull it back you can see it wants to spring back into shape. There's enough give in it that I can shape it, but not so much as it will pull out of shape once I've established what we need. I'm going to need some jump rings to hold everything together, and I'm going to need a clasp and a little chain of beads to go on the back. I'm going to start with the centre portion of the torque. This is the bit that supports the pendant. It has a loop in the middle and these scroll ends. Now the ends of the scrolls, just here and here, approximately correspond to your collarbone. One for the left, one for the right. This is where we need the articulation so it lies flat. Now you can measure the distance on your own body, or as an average, a piece of wire around about 25 centimetres long will be plenty to play with to start with. So I've got 25 centimetres approximately of 1.2mm wire. I'm going to start by putting this loop in the centre. I'm going to hold the wire about halfway along the length, like that, and I'm going to turn the wire in the pliers so the curve, as you see, is in the opposite plane to the pliers themselves. I'm about halfway along the plier nose. That means I'm going to get a reasonably sized loop, and I'm going to hold it so that the ends of the curve are towards me. I'm now going to bend the wire and hold the pliers still. So I'm going to wrap one side of the wire underneath, and I'm going to wrap the other side of the wire underneath, keeping the pliers still. This is a much easier way to bend thick wire than to try and move the pliers. If I take the pliers out now, you can see that the curve is maintained and we've got a loop below the curve. The next thing to do is to put on our scroll ends. Now you need to measure this against a model, against a neck form, or against your own neck. And we need to cut it so that with the loop in the centre, we've got about 1 centimetre past where we think the collarbone is. So around about there and there. I'm going to trim one side, and you can measure this with a rule if you want to, but I'm just going to do it with the finger caliper method, which is about there. and trim. Now, as I said earlier, you can, if you wish, just put a plain loop on each end to make the join, but I'd like to show you how to do the fancy scroll end. I'll move it slightly out of the way so it's easier for you to see. Now, first of all, we do the little loop that you see at the end of the scroll. Just take the round nose pliers, and this time I'm using them quite close to the tip, and I'm going to roll a little loop along the top edge. So I'm going to roll towards the centre along the top of the curve. So I'm going to hold the very end of the wire, make sure I'm at the end, I can hardly feel it there, and I'm going to roll along the top edge until it just touches back on itself. If we have a look at that, you can see there's the centre loop and it comes up and over the top. I'm going to do the same at the other end. Grip right at the end and roll along the top edge until it just touches. Now we need to convert this little loop here into this big scroll, and we're going to move up the pliers to about 3/4 of the way along. I'm going to grip right against the loop. So if I show you that way, you can see I'm right against the loop, and again the curve of the wire is in the opposite plane to the handles of the pliers. So this is the curve of the wire coming up towards me, and I'm going to roll away from myself. And when I turn upwards, there's the curve. I'm going to do that the other way around so you can see exactly what I'm doing. About 3/4 of the way along, and I want to roll the pliers that way. Here we go, rolling the pliers, and there we have our scroll end. That's the centre of the torque done. I'm now going to add the 2 side pieces to the centre front. Here you can see I've cut 2 pieces of 1.2mm wire. They're approximately 25 centimetres long. That gives me plenty to make the scroll ends with and make the adjustment for the length. Once you've practiced this a little bit, you'll find that you'll cut a shorter piece that's more accurate, but first time make it a little bit longer just so you can get the right size. Now we're going to do a scroll end on here exactly the same as on here. So the first little loop was to the inside of the curve of the wire. So we're going to hold right at the end and make our small loop. There we go, small loop to the inside of the curve. And then it's the larger loop, or the larger position on the pliers, about 2/3 of the way down, and roll to the outside until it just touches back on itself. And it must touch, that's really important. If I put that down, you can see that's going to be your join. I'm going to do the same on this one. And now we have 2 prepared side pieces. Before I set the length of these 2 side pieces, I want to join everything together. And we join everything with jump rings. You can just use a single jump ring, but I like to use a double jump ring because I think it's more attractive. So I'm going to use 2 6mm jump rings on each side. So I put 1 jump ring in the large loop, I place the side arm in, and can you see it's following the same curve, and close it. And we need another jump ring. I'm going to do the same. And if I open that out, you'll see you've got a double jump ring join. I'm going to do exactly the same at the other side, and then we'll get it ready for fitting. Now I've got both side arms joined on to the centre front. And I've started to get it into the sort of shape that will fit a neck. Now, actually a neck isn't round, it's slightly square. It's square at the back. If you feel your own neck, you'll find it's flat at the back, it's flat at the sides, and then it comes down to a slight point at the front. So it's almost like a heart shape, but without the bow at the back. Now I've started to get it into a reasonable shape, and then I will try it on or try it on a friend to get the size right. Now at the moment it's a little bit long, so I just need to trim it up. It's just a little bit off that side, and this side's worked out a bit longer. I'll trim off a bit more. Right, now we're ready to finish off the back. I'm going to make a simple loop on each side, and to keep it neat I'm doing the loop in the same plane as the curve of the wire. So when I put it down flat, you can see the loop. When I hold it side on, the loop disappears. It just keeps it neat. A loop on this end too. And we're nearly there. Now, I've made a little chain for the back, and I've made this with a combination of 6mm and 4mm jump rings just because I like the look of it. Just a little piece of chain or just one size of jump ring is absolutely fine, as long as your chosen clasp will fit onto the rings. So it's a jump ring to attach it to the torque. At one side, and there's actually a jump ring attached to the clasp. Always difficult when they're on their own. There we go. I'm going to attach that to there with this jump ring. So as with all jump rings, the gaps at the top, one pair of pliers at right angles, second pair down the side, twist it open, on with the clasp, and on to the end of the necklace. There we go, we're nearly there. If I fasten that now, you can see it moves at the back, it moves at the front, and it just needs decorating. I've got a very simple pendant made from 3 linked components. There's a jump ring at the top, which I just need to twist open, join it onto the torque, twist it shut. That's the front of the necklace done. There we are. Now we just need to make the back just as stylish. So I've got a head pin and a bead. Pop that onto the head pin, trim it, loop it, and link it onto the end of the chain. And there we have our articulation finished at the back, our articulation finished at the front, and it's a really quick and easy necklace to make. And of course, if you're a beadaholic, you'll have lots of gorgeous beads at home that you'll be able to make into pendants to swap in and out.